Hello friends. Have you ever met someone who seems like they've got a secret plan behind that charming smile? Someone who's magnetic, razor sharp, a little mischievous, yet deeply loyal once you've earned their trust. Let me introduce you to the rare and potent combination of Scorpio born in the year of the monkey, a personality that reads like a mystery novel, filled with plot twists, power plays, passion, and precision. This isn't your average zodiac pairing. Scorpio monkey individuals are intense, strategic, and almost scarily intuitive. But what does this powerful mix mean when it comes to love, sex, marriage, friendship, business, and life purpose? And what are the darker shades of this otherwise charismatic personality? Let's explore the layers, one by one. Love, the game of power and passion. Love for a Scorpio monkey isn't a romantic daydream. It's a calculated, high-stakes mission that consumes their full attention and emotional bandwidth. These individuals don't ease their way into love. They commit to the plunge like skydivers without parachutes, convinced they'll land exactly where they're meant to. Their feelings don't simmer. They ignite, often without warning. The emotional intensity they bring to relationships is not just passionate, it's transformative. When they love, they don't just want to be with someone. They want to know them inside and out, merge psyches, and rewrite each other's emotional DNA. There's no such thing as casual. Love is either a rebirth or a battlefield, and there's no in-between. At first glance, a Scorpio monkey in love might appear carefree and playful, leaning heavily into the charm, wit, and flirtation that the monkey energy naturally brings to the table. They'll tease you, test you, draw you in with layers of charisma and unpredictable gestures. But beneath the surface, the Scorpio half is always scanning, always observing, and always measuring your depth. It's not enough to be pretty, smart, or successful. They're looking for soul-level resonance. This means you'll be subconsciously evaluated on emotional intelligence, trustworthiness, and, perhaps most importantly, your ability to keep up with the speed and sharpness of their minds. Every touch, every word, every look is part of a silent investigation. Can I trust you with my darkness? Before they offer up their fiercely loyal hearts, they put you through a sequence of unspoken tests. These aren't obvious or linear. One moment, they might overshare a deep personal truth just to see how you react. The next, they might go cold or disappear emotionally, waiting to see if you chase them, respect their space, or simply flinch. These aren't games for the sake of drama. They're protective mechanisms designed to ensure that they never give their energy to someone who will waste it. Loyalty to a Scorpio monkey is sacred, and once they deem you worthy, their commitment is unshakable. But get ready. You're not dating a person, you're entering a dynamic arena of psychological intensity and emotional alchemy. In a romantic relationship, Scorpio monkeys need a partner who can do more than love them. They need someone who can spar, stimulate, and survive the depth of their emotional currents. This isn't about dominance or submission, it's about respect and resonance. They want someone who knows their own value, has their own ambitions, and doesn't get intimidated by intensity. A mentally weak or emotionally unavailable partner simply won't last. They're drawn to people who can challenge them intellectually, remain emotionally honest, and not flinch when the relationship gets real. Because it will get real. They don't need constant attention, but they demand presence, self-awareness, and emotional clarity. If you can't handle complexity, they'll sense it immediately and move on. Betrayal is the ultimate deal breaker. For Scorpio monkeys, loyalty is not just a preference, it's a moral code etched into their bones. If you cheat, lie, or break their trust in a meaningful way, there's almost no coming back. Even if they don't confront you directly, you'll feel the chill of their emotional retreat, a silence so complete it feels like being erased. They don't explode, they vanish. Forgiveness isn't impossible, but it's rare, and even when it happens, things are never quite the same. Their memory is surgical. They remember what you said, how you said it, and how it made them feel, and they won't open that door again unless you prove you've done some serious self-evolution. In matters of the heart, they don't recycle pain. What's their love language? It's not always physical touch or sweet words. For a Scorpio monkey, love is shown in layers of unspoken trust, shared secrets, long silences filled with mutual understanding, and a feeling that you and they are co-conspirators in your own private world. They value subtle gestures, deep conversations, and your ability to read between the lines. They won't say, "I love you," every day, but they'll show it in how they protect you, challenge you, and choose you over and over again in the face of temptation or adversity. Love with them isn't light, it's heavy, heady, and honest. If you're lucky enough to earn it, be wise enough to never take it for granted. Marriage, a pact, not a party. To a Scorpio monkey, marriage is never entered lightly, never treated casually, and absolutely never viewed through the soft focus lens of fairy tale fantasies. For them, it's a union of minds, values, and long-term visions. In fact, they approach it with the mindset of a strategist entering into a high-stakes alliance. They don't just want a lover, they want a partner, an equal, a co-commander-in-chief. Love may open the door to marriage, but respect, intelligence, and shared ambition are what seal the deal. This is not a person who says, "I do," just because of chemistry or cultural expectation. To them, marriage is a merger, two powerful lives intertwining to create something even more formidable. Think empire building, not wedding planning. Vows to a Scorpio monkey are sacred contracts. When they commit, they do so with their entire being, heart, soul, and strategy. They don't take loyalty lightly, and they expect their partner to be just as deeply invested on every level. Emotional compatibility is critical, but so is mental stimulation and even financial synergy. They're not interested in carrying the emotional or material load alone. They want someone who brings ideas, energy, and resources to the table. A passive partner? That's a hard pass. They thrive in a dynamic where both parties pull equal weight, not just in domestic routines, but in the bigger vision of building a life that matters. To them, marriage is a powerful fusion of purpose and passion, and both must be present. While intimacy is important, Scorpio monkeys guard their independence like a dragon guarding its treasure. They do not thrive in codependent dynamics, and in fact, they recoil from any relationship that feels smothering. In marriage, they require space, not because they want to stray, but because they need room to think, dream, and execute their goals. Emotional micromanagement is their nightmare. They don't need a partner who constantly checks in on their every move. They need someone who trusts their process. In return for that freedom, they offer something rare, deep, unshakable loyalty and a level of emotional support that runs bone deep. When given space and trust, they flourish into the kind of spouse who is both your fiercest ally and your most devoted confidant. Routine is the silent killer in a Scorpio monkey's marriage. These individuals are wired for depth, change, and complexity. If the relationship slips into predictability, same conversations, same arguments, same rituals with no growth, they begin to disconnect. The monkey in them craves stimulation, novelty, and cleverness. The Scorpio in them begins analyzing exit strategies before their partner even realizes something's off. This doesn't mean they're disloyal, it means they're mentally starving. They need challenge, they need evolution, they need a relationship that surprises them, challenges their perspectives, and feeds their intellect as much as it soothes their heart. Without that, they may not physically leave, but emotionally, they're already on the road out. The ideal partner for a Scorpio monkey isn't someone who tries to tame them or make them settle down. It's someone strong enough to meet them on equal ground, self-assured enough to let them roam, and mysterious enough to keep their attention long after the wedding rings are on. They're deeply attracted to individuals with their own goals, their own inner fire, and just enough chaos to keep the spark alive. But they also need emotional stability, a grounding force that can anchor their ever-active minds and turbulent emotions. It's a paradox. They want someone who surprises them without destabilizing them, someone who intrigues them without playing games, someone who can match their storms with a calm, confident eye. That kind of union, that's when a Scorpio monkey truly says yes, not just to the person, but to the journey of marriage itself. Sex, obsession meets experimentation. When it comes to sexuality, Scorpio monkeys don't just dabble, they descend. This isn't a zodiac pairing built for surface-level passion or mechanical pleasure. Scorpio alone is known as the most sexually potent sign in the entire zodiac, but when that raw, intense drive is fused with the monkey's daring curiosity and spontaneous energy, the result is something electrifying. This combination creates a magnetic pull that's nearly impossible to resist. Their presence is captivating, their gaze feels like a secret being revealed, and their flirtation isn't just playful, it's charged with meaning. They know how to seduce with a word, a glance, a well-timed silence. Being with them feels less like casual sex and more like entering a storm, thrilling, unpredictable, and all-consuming. For Scorpio monkeys, sex isn't simply about bodies, it's about psychology, narrative, and power exchange. What turns them on is rarely just physical. They crave a mental and emotional seduction, a slow unwrapping of layers that builds anticipation like the opening chapters of a gripping novel. They want to be intrigued, challenged, even provoked. The mind is their first erogenous zone, and they love partners who bring nuance, complexity, and mystery to the table. Emotional risk is a huge factor. If they sense vulnerability or feel safe enough to offer their own, the experience becomes transcendent. They don't want predictable routines, they want moments that feel like confessions, like secrets being exposed through touch. This is where sex becomes a kind of spiritual warfare, raw, intimate, and unforgettable. Experimentation is part of their sexual DNA, but not in a reckless or impulsive way. The monkey side of their personality brings playfulness, creativity, and a thirst for novelty. They're not afraid to push boundaries or explore new terrain. However, the Scorpio side demands trust, emotional safety, and control. This means that while they may seem bold or even provocative, they're far more selective than people realize. Consent, mutual respect, and emotional compatibility are non-negotiable. If they sense genuine interest and emotional alignment, they'll dive deep into fantasies, roleplay, sensory exploration, and uncharted territory. But if they don't trust you, the walls go up instantly. The charm remains, but the real passion? Gone, and it won't be coming back. Scorpio monkeys are the type of lovers people remember for a long time, sometimes forever. There's something about the way they lock in, how present they are, how unapologetically intense they become in intimate settings. They give everything in the moment, and that emotional intensity is what makes them so addictive. But be warned, this isn't a casual entanglement. With them, physical chemistry always comes with emotional consequences. They bond deeply, sometimes even obsessively, and expect their partners to bring that same level of focus and presence. If you think you can engage lightly and walk away untouched, think again. Their energy lingers, and if you're not ready for the emotional aftermath, you might find yourself overwhelmed, or in over your head. The key to sustaining a sexual relationship with a Scorpio monkey lies in the balance between excitement and emotional authenticity. They're not interested in endless novelty just for the sake of it, they want meaning behind the fire. Routine is the enemy, but so is shallowness. To keep the connection alive, you have to keep surprising them, not with tricks, but with depth, honesty, and a willingness to evolve together. They are drawn to people who bring layers of personality, ambition, and emotion to the table. When sex becomes a dialogue rather than a performance, that's when they truly come alive. In the right hands, they become not just lovers, but artists of intimacy, sculpting every moment with care, intensity, and an edge of beautiful danger. Friendship, selective, strategic, deep. Scorpio monkeys don't do casual friendships. To them, choosing a friend is more like choosing a business partner, emotional confidant, and battlefield ally all in one. They are extremely private and intentional about who they let into their lives. Friendship isn't about convenience or popularity. It's about depth, trust, and long-term value. They assess people quietly and thoroughly, often over extended periods of observation. You might not even know you're being vetted, but rest assured, they're taking mental notes on how you respond under pressure, how you treat others, how consistent you are with your words and actions. They don't want perfect people, but they absolutely demand real ones. If you make it into their inner circle, understand this: you weren't casually accepted, you were chosen. What makes their friendship style so unique is the duality between the Scorpio's emotional depth and the monkey's sharp social intelligence. Once you're in, Scorpio monkeys become some of the most fiercely loyal friends you'll ever have. They'll go to the mat for you, defend your name when you're not in the room, and stick around when everyone else has faded. But don't let their loyalty fool you into thinking they're always serious. These individuals are also hilariously witty, gifted with dry humor, sarcasm, and a quick tongue. They're the kind of friend who can shift from discussing life's darkest secrets to making you laugh in the span of 3 minutes. They thrive on inside jokes, coded glances, and late-night conversations that feel more like therapy than banter. Emotional reciprocity is everything to them. They'll invest deeply in a friendship, but only if they sense that you're equally willing to show up. Surface-level interactions exhaust them. They crave conversations that go beneath the surface, ones about ambition, fear, trauma, desire, and meaning. Intellectual stimulation is key. If you can't keep up with their thoughts, challenge their ideas, or explore the emotional undercurrents of a situation, they'll quietly drift away. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. They're simply not wired for shallow connection. They want to feel the friendship, not just perform it. And they love people who, like them, are full of contradictions, thoughtful yet wild, stable yet unpredictable, open yet guarded. Trust is the most valuable currency in their friendships. Once it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair. Scorpio monkeys do not give second chances easily. If you betray them, talk behind their back, or show signs of disloyalty, don't expect a dramatic confrontation. Expect distance. Cold, calculated, irreversible distance. Their version of revenge is emotional deletion. They'll cut you off mentally and energetically without a sound. This silence isn't fueled by pettiness, it's about protecting their peace. Their trust is sacred, and once violated, it's rarely restored. If you've earned their friendship, handle it with care. Because while they rarely show it, losing someone they once valued cuts them deeply, even if they never say so out loud. Scorpio monkeys aren't the life of the party, and they don't want to be. They often feel out of place in large social settings and prefer intimate one-on-one connections where nuance and honesty can thrive. They're drawn to people who are as layered and intense as they are, those who've been through storms and still carry light in their eyes. If you can handle brutal honesty, complex emotions, and a friendship that demands your full presence, then you're in for something rare. But if you're inconsistent, flaky, or emotionally shallow, they'll see it instantly and keep their distance. With them, friendship is never background noise, it's a full-body experience. Quiet, meaningful, and powerful enough to last lifetimes. Business, born strategists, natural leaders. In the world of business, Scorpio monkeys walk in like chess masters entering a poker game, already 3 moves ahead, already reading the room. Their presence might not always be loud, but it's always felt. If they had a workplace tagline, it would be something like, "Don't mistake my quiet for complacency." They exude a calm, focused confidence that unnerves weaker players and fascinates high-level thinkers. These are not the types who chase validation, they chase results. Their monkey side brings flexibility, quick adaptation, and sharp humor, a survival toolkit in competitive industries. Meanwhile, their Scorpio foundation adds raw ambition, emotional precision, and a sixth sense for people's hidden agendas. This combination makes them incredibly hard to manipulate and impossible to ignore. Scorpio monkeys are hardwired to lead, but not through ego or empty charisma. They lead through strategy, performance, and presence. They don't waste time trying to impress everyone in the room. They scan the room, figure out who really matters, and position themselves accordingly. Their monkey traits allow them to pivot quickly in high-stress environments, to charm without being phony, and to improvise when necessary. But the Scorpio side never stops calculating. They're always analyzing power dynamics, evaluating loyalty, and silently building influence. They often appear relaxed on the surface, but behind the scenes, they are executing 10-step plans with surgical precision. People underestimate them at their own peril, because by the time others realize there's serious competition, Scorpio monkeys have already taken control of the boardroom. Climbing the corporate ladder isn't enough for them. They want to build the ladder themselves and decide who gets to climb it. Scorpio monkeys are motivated by power, not out of vanity, but out of a deep belief that they can lead with more intelligence, clarity, and impact than those currently in charge. They don't just want to succeed in a system, they want to reinvent it. They see inefficiencies as opportunities, weak leadership as a call to action, and mediocrity as something to eradicate. Their drive to be in charge is deeply rooted in vision. They genuinely believe that with control, they can create a better, smarter operation. And they're willing to outwork, outthink, and outlast everyone else to get there. Titles don't impress them, influence does. You'll often find Scorpio monkeys in roles that demand deep thinking, human insight, and long-term vision. They thrive in professions where strategy meets complexity. CEO, high-level consultant, attorney, investigative journalist, intelligence analyst, marketing executive, or founder of a startup with teeth. They love problems that require multiple layers of thinking, and they're not afraid of high-risk, high-reward environments. In negotiations, they are smooth but never soft, capable of reading a person's insecurities in seconds and using that knowledge with surgical precision. In team settings, they prefer to lead rather than follow, but they'll follow a competent leader if they see integrity and vision. One thing is certain: they're never idle, never careless, and never unaware of what's really going on behind the curtain. Respect is everything to them in business. If you cross them, mislead them, or waste their time, they won't yell, they'll just remove you from the equation. Permanently. They can be ruthless when necessary, especially when someone threatens what they've built or tries to manipulate them. But if you show competence, loyalty, and intellect, they will reward you with unshakable alliance and support. They build strong professional relationships with those who prove their worth, and they expect high standards not just from others, but from themselves. They don't micromanage, but they do expect results. Their work ethic is relentless, and they have no patience for mediocrity, laziness, or pretense. They can detect inauthenticity a mile away, and they want nothing to do with it. As much as they crave power and success, Scorpio monkeys are deeply aware of the value of money, not just as a tool for survival, but as a weapon of freedom. They want wealth not for vanity, but for leverage. To them, money means choice. The ability to walk away from nonsense, to build something of their own, to protect the people they care about, and to live life on their terms. They're rarely showy, but make no mistake, they want to win. Financial independence is deeply tied to their personal identity, and they often begin building wealth with long-term goals in mind. Investments, ownership, strategy. They treat money like a game they plan to master, not a byproduct of success, but a strategic priority. In the business world, Scorpio monkeys aren't just players, they're architects. Dark sides, manipulation, obsession, emotional isolation. Even the most magnetic personalities cast a long shadow, and in the case of Scorpio monkeys, their darkness isn't always obvious at first. It's layered, subtle, and often concealed behind intelligence, charm, and control. But make no mistake, their shadow side is powerful. When triggered, emotionally threatened, or deeply insecure, these individuals can become deeply manipulative, not in petty or obvious ways, but with chilling precision. Their innate ability to read people, decipher hidden motives, and sense emotional vulnerabilities gives them a psychological edge, and if they feel cornered, betrayed, or unsafe, they will use that edge to cut deep. They don't explode, they dissect. Whether it's guilt, silence, or strategy, they know how to shift power in a conversation, how to exploit your patterns, and how to make you question yourself, all without raising their voice. This dark potential for manipulation isn't always conscious. It can stem from a survival instinct. Scorpio monkeys live in a near-constant state of hyper-awareness, especially when it comes to emotional dynamics. Their Scorpio core scans for danger, betrayal, and dishonesty. Their monkey side reacts quickly, instinctively, and sometimes impulsively. If they sense a threat, real or imagined, their default response is control. And control can take many forms: emotional withdrawal, gaslighting, calculated flattery, or simply keeping others guessing. They don't manipulate to be cruel. They do it because they fear being powerless. But the result is the same: tension, mistrust, and damage that's hard to undo. In their lowest moments, they can weaponize their emotional intelligence to maintain the upper hand at all costs. Possessiveness and jealousy run deep in their emotional code. Scorpio monkeys don't love lightly, and they don't share easily. Not attention, not affection, and certainly not trust. Their intensity in relationships can tip from passion to obsession if they feel emotionally unsafe or out of control. They may become suspicious of partners, friends, or even colleagues, dissecting every word, every pause, every change in tone. Their minds are always working, analyzing, predicting, preparing, and this mental activity can spiral into paranoia, even if there's no concrete reason for it. They often imagine worst-case scenarios, not because they want drama, but because they've learned to expect it. This obsessive need to anticipate betrayal can strain relationships and push away the very people they want to hold close. Another deeply rooted shadow is their tendency to bottle up emotions. Scorpio monkeys don't like appearing vulnerable, even to people they trust. Instead of expressing hurt, disappointment, or fear, they retreat. They shut down emotionally, disappear into themselves, and stew in silence. On the surface, they might appear calm, but inside, there's a storm of unspoken thoughts and unresolved feelings. This emotional self-containment can lead to prolonged periods of detachment, resentment, or passive-aggressive behavior. Over time, unexpressed emotions calcify into bitterness, making it difficult for them to reconnect, even with those they love. Left unchecked, this cycle can evolve into self-sabotage, depression, or even physical burnout. And because they're so private, few people ever realize just how much they're carrying alone. Perhaps the hardest lesson for Scorpio monkeys is understanding that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's power. Their challenge in life is to stop viewing emotional openness as a liability and start seeing it as a bridge to connection, healing, and mutual understanding. Trust doesn't mean surrendering control, it means choosing courage over self-protection. Letting go of their grip on every outcome won't make them lose, it might be the very thing that sets them free. But this lesson isn't easy. It takes years of self-work, emotional maturity, and often, heartbreak to realize that control doesn't equal love, and fear doesn't have to be a compass. The moment they begin trusting others, not blindly, but bravely, is the moment their shadows begin to lighten. That's when they stop surviving and start living. Life purpose, the seeker of truth and power. Scorpio monkeys move through the world with an inner radar always tuned to the unseen, the unspoken, and the unacknowledged. Their driving question, what's really going on beneath the surface, isn't just philosophical, it's foundational. They're not content with surface-level explanations or easy answers. Whether they're reading a person, a political situation, a piece of art, or the culture at large, they're looking for the hidden motives, the buried wounds, the secret agendas. This obsession with the why beneath the why gives them an unusual depth and intellectual edge, making them feel out of place in environments where superficiality rules. For them, life is a puzzle box, and they'll keep turning it over in their minds until they hear the click of truth unlocking. Their purpose is tied to this hunt for meaning, always digging, always decoding. This search for deeper understanding doesn't stay abstract, it gets applied. Scorpio monkeys are doers, not just thinkers. If they're fascinated by the human psyche, they'll become therapists, authors, or filmmakers who peel back emotional layers with surgical precision. If they're drawn to systems, they'll build companies, platforms, or ideas that dismantle what's broken and reimagine what's possible. Even if they're working in creative fields, they approach their work like investigators, examining human nature, power dynamics, and existential questions through narrative, symbolism, or design. Their obsession with hidden forces makes them particularly drawn to fields like psychology, intelligence, science, tech innovation, journalism, and high-level strategy. They don't chase trends, they track the patterns that create them. Transformation isn't just a theme in their life, it is their life. Scorpio monkeys are rebirth archetypes in human form. They are constantly evolving, shedding old identities, beliefs, and even relationships that no longer serve their growth. Unlike others who fear change, they almost need it. They seek out disruption, not for the chaos, but for the opportunity to rebuild something better. This same energy makes them catalysts for others' transformations too. They challenge people to grow, whether intentionally or not. They break illusions, push boundaries, and force confrontations with uncomfortable truths. Sometimes they're seen as intense or intimidating because of this, but what they're really doing is clearing out the noise to make room for something real. Their purpose is often tied to helping others face truth, evolve, and rise from the ashes. Power is one of their lifelong companions, but not the cartoonish, domineering kind. Scorpio monkeys are interested in authentic power, the kind that comes from knowledge, self-mastery, influence, and legacy. They want to know how power works, how it's used, who controls it, and how they can wield it responsibly. They're rarely interested in fame for its own sake, and they don't chase clout unless it serves a larger vision. They want their work to mean something. They want to leave a mark, not just through success, but through impact. They aim to influence systems, shift mindsets, or build something that outlives them. They're not here to be liked. They're here to be effective. Whether they build a movement, mentor minds, or design a tool that changes how people live, they want to matter in a way that's impossible to ignore. While external validation may be tempting, it's never their true north. Scorpio monkeys are internally driven. They measure success by their own brutal standards, not by applause, likes, or praise. Their deepest satisfaction comes from integrity of effort, knowing they saw more, dug deeper, worked harder, and didn't settle. They thrive on private victories, mastering a new skill, solving a problem no one else could, helping someone transform in silence. Their achievements may not always be obvious, and they're fine with that. They don't need the spotlight, they need to know they're building something real. Something with depth, purpose, and permanence. Even if no one ever claps, they'll sleep well knowing they never faked it. Their purpose isn't popularity, it's legacy, truth, and building a life that feels like a masterpiece, even if it was written in invisible ink. So, who are the Scorpio monkeys really? They are enigmas in motion, living paradoxes wrapped in charisma, grit, and calculated intensity. On one hand, Scorpio monkeys are dazzlingly magnetic, capable of lighting up a room with a glance, a smirk, or a well-placed sentence. But on the other, they carry entire oceans of depth beneath their polished surfaces. These are not people you can skim, they must be read, studied, and felt page by page. They are charmers, yes, but there's always a purpose behind the charm. They don't engage without intention. Whether they're winning you over with wit, drawing you in with mystery, or outmaneuvering you in silence, it's all part of a deeper, more strategic design. They are passion wrapped in poise, fire cloaked in logic, and instinct sharpened by intellect. You might not always understand them, but you'll never forget them. They love with depth, work with precision, and move through the world with an almost mythic blend of sensuality and foresight. They are not casual participants in life, they are architects of experience. Their inner world is a mix of intense feeling, restless curiosity, and high-level thinking. And that's what makes them lovers with secrets. Even in their most open moments, they hold something back, a part of themselves that no one gets to touch unless it's earned. In relationships, they're all in, but never unguarded. They seduce with their mind, enchant with their energy, and challenge with their expectations. There is always more to them than meets the eye, and they prefer it that way. Because for a Scorpio monkey, mystery isn't just part of the game, it is the game. When it comes to friendship, they bring a rare fire, fierce loyalty, razor-sharp insight, and unwavering support. But that fire has rules. They don't give their friendship away freely. If they call you a friend, it means you've passed unspoken tests, demonstrated consistency, and proven your worth in ways most people don't even recognize. They will defend you fiercely, push you honestly, and celebrate you quietly. But they won't tolerate disrespect, betrayal, or disloyalty. They don't believe in half measures, If they care about you, they'll move mountains. If you cross them, they'll become a mountain you'll never climb again. Their friendship isn't for the faint-hearted, it's for the few who can meet them in the deep end and hold their ground. In leadership and ambition, they are visionary and relentless. Scorpio monkeys don't chase titles, they build empires. They possess a blend of intuitive foresight and calculated drive that makes them natural architects of change. They can read a room in seconds, spot weaknesses in systems, and implement strategies with near-surgical efficiency. They don't just want to rise, they want to redefine what success looks like. And they'll do it in their own way, with intensity, brilliance, and often in silence until the results speak for themselves. They are not motivated by applause, they're motivated by mastery. The power they seek isn't about dominance, it's about influence, impact, and legacy. They want to leave things better, stronger, smarter, and more intentional than they found them. If you have a Scorpio monkey in your life, understand this: you're dealing with a force of nature. Respect their intelligence, don't play games you can't finish, and never assume you've seen all of them. There's always another layer, another story, another truth they haven't told. They can be your fiercest protector or your sharpest lesson, it depends on how you treat them. And if you are the Scorpio monkey, never forget, your power isn't just in your ability to lead, love, or outthink the world. It's in your ability to see through illusion, to cut through the noise, and to build a life that mirrors the brilliance and mystery of your mind. You are not here to fit in. You're here to reshape everything you touch, with passion, precision, and power.